Hello, everyone, and welcome back to It's Okay Not to Be Fabulous Every Day. I'm Cyrus Webb, joined by my co host, Dalsimer, the actual author of the book of the name of the show. We're glad you all could join us on the simulcast on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and on X. We're going to try to bring in our friends over on Instagram, and hopefully they can be able to watch us here live. And we're going to try to, once again, to get the replay up for you guys as well. And last but certainly not least, going to connect with our friends over on Amazon Live. Have another great one, but I know I say that every week, but every week is great based on Allie's book. And the great thing is, you all can be able to get your own copy of the book. We're going to remind you of that. And we're now live on the Amazon Live platform with It's Okay Not to Be Fabulous Every Day. If it's your first time joining us, welcome. I'm going to type you guys a welcome message over there. Make sure you guys do hit that follow button, either here in this corner or down below. You also see Allie's book. You guys can get it in print, like I have it here. You get the Kindle edition. I think I have that too. And you can also get the audio book as well. We're going to talk to Allie about another great chapter and how all of us should be able to look for ways to be able to take action in our lives if you want to be able to see the rewards that we say we want. Allie, welcome back to the broadcast.
Thank you so much, Cyrus. I am pleased to be here for sure.
Look, I'm always excited about this. I was saying to Allie just before we went live here that I have learned so much in reading her book and going through this show with her. So, Allie, I want to, when I say that to you,
Yeah.
how does that feel to know that someone who is not you is able to read these words that are very personal? And some of these lessons, like the one we're going to talk about today, is very personal to you, that they've been able to be impacted by it.
It's an incredible feeling. It makes me feel really humbled and grateful. And especially when someone like you says it, Cyrus, because you live in this world, in this motivational self-help world. And to think that you have learned something from me is it's very humbling, and it makes me feel really happy.
Yeah. So talk to us then about Allie then, because I had said to you before we went on here to Allie, and I know we know me because both of us get here early, so we're able to have a great pre-show before the show that you guys actually see. And I was saying to Allie, and you guys will understand more when we get into today's chapter. I was asking her if it took her down memory lane. When you read some of these things now, Allie, that you wrote at a different time in your life, what is it like for you to see where you were then versus where you are today?
Yeah, it's been fascinating, really, because as I said a few moments ago, I'm not the same person that I was when I wrote this book. I have taken, the subtitle of the book is A Journey to Self-Discovery, and I have been on my own personal journey to self-discovering in working on embracing my inner fabulosity so that I can maximize my own personal potential. Right? I'm trying to live and breathe these words that I'm also trying to encourage others to embrace. And I am not the same person that I was when I wrote this book. And it makes me feel grateful and um, empowered, because I really feel that I have come a long way. I still have more to go, but I feel I've come a long way to becoming a truly, what I call, successful person. And by success, I mean being happy with who I am, what I'm doing, and who I'm doing it with. And I'm not there yet. I believe that the journey is never complete. You
Mm.
always step into your new tomorrow until, of course, there are no more tomorrows. But I'm really grateful for taking that first step and really proceeding down this path.
This is not an interview. This is It's Okay Not to Be Fabulous Every Day. But Allie, I do have to ask you, because
Okay.
in what you were just saying though, I think it's a very interesting connection that I didn't think about before with this chapter we're going to talk about. Your new project, So What's Your Process, is another example of what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because you had an idea, which a lot
Mhm.
of people have ideas, but you took it a step further and turned it into a reality. Talk to us about that. What it's like for you to realize, okay, the idea that you had, like, and again, we all have those ideas, but now to see where it is, but you already are planning for season three.
Yeah, absolutely. We're scheduling for seasons 2 and 3 right now, and It's going great. But yeah, when, Cyrus, you were the first person to tell me that I should do a podcast. I should do my own podcast. And I was like, oh, I don't know. It's a lot of work. For those who don't know, 'cause a lot of people start podcasts and the vast majority fail within the first few months because it really is a lot of work behind the scenes.
Mhm.
And I thought, yeah, it's a lot of work. I don't know. And then I thought, you know what? I'll give it a try. I'll give it a try. And I sat down and I self-recorded and did some things. And I thought, I have nothing anybody wants to say. Like, I don't really care about what I'm saying. So no one else is going to care about it either. And then there were a confluence of events that happened in my life. And I thought, the process is really interesting. And people are always asking me, what is my process for being an author? Like, how do I go about that? What does my day look like? Because I don't have your typical 9 to 5 job. I don't get up and scrape the ice off my windshield and commute into the city and do that kind of thing. Lord knows I did that for over 30 years.
Right.
Um, I get up and a lot of days I work in my PJs or a pair of sweats, and I work long hours. And sometimes I work 9, 10, 11, 12 hours a day. Sometimes, though, I wake up and I'm like, I'm just not in a mental headspace, and I go do something else. And to have that luxury, first of all, is just an incredible privilege.
Mhm.
But also, it's opaque to other people. They don't understand, like, how does that work? Like, how do you go from looking at a blank page to writing a book? Like, how do you get from A to Z? And I thought, that's really interesting because I too am interested in the process of other artists. We've talked about my son being an actor and singer, performer, and the process that he goes through is very different from what I go through. And I was asking him about that. And anyway, it evolved, and I thought, so what's your process, right? Like, what's your process? And I talked with my son about it. My original idea was to talk with authors about their process. And he was like, we should talk with all creatives.
Mhm.
And so, it morphed and evolved, and now we're doing it. And we had the idea, as you mentioned, but then we did the work. And it's
Yeah.
a lot of work. You have to identify people, you have to get equipment, you have to come up with your storyline and your arc and all these other things.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, so we're doing it, and it's thrilled. And I don't think I ever could have envisioned myself doing something like this when I wrote this book.
Yeah. One of the people you interviewed, Makita, is over on YouTube. Hey, Makita. Good to be able to
Awesome
see you.
interview.
Yeah,
Amazing lady. Her book,
really,
Flying Over 50, is worth getting.
it really is. And we're going to go into this chapter, but I do want to say one thing in connection with what Ali just said versus what I have really think is a big reminder for all of us, because Ali talked about the podcasting world. And Ali, you're right. People, they automatically think, oh, I can do that. I can do that. But don't realize the work. And I think, like you said, so many, and the stats are so high. I find people never get to episode 5 because of the amount of work and people not thinking through that whole process, right? of having what is it going to be about, and how's it going to work. And so I loved hearing you talk about that, because I think, again, people will look at you now, and I'm sure the conversations are happening, Ellie, that even you don't know about, hey, how is she doing that show? This podcast. And I think, that is a great reminder for all of us of what's possible if we do the work. So, Ellie, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Absolutely. All right. Today's chapter. Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. Seneca. My daughter is a first-year student at college this year. Yesterday, she sent me this series of texts. OMG. I got a 98 out of 100 on my math test. The one I was nervous about but studied really hard for. I have all A's now. 3 exclamation points. What's amazing about this text is that my daughter had the flu and missed the pre-test review class. She worried she'd score poorly, which would result in her borderline grade slipping to a B, and this, she feared, might torpedo her college transfer application. Her worry served as a call to action. Rather than binge Netflix between naps, as I do when I'm feeling ill, she chose to study and take practice tests. Although she felt lucky to have done well, the reality is that her luck was the result of several days of preparation driven by her concern about getting a poor grade. Negative emotions serve as warnings, alerting us to problems and opportunities. Anger, anxiety, dissatisfaction, and unhappiness are all calls to action. When we feel them, we need to understand where the problems lie. And once we know that, we can identify the changes we need to make. Then it's up to us to make those changes because only we can change where we are, who we are, what we do, and who we're with. In your quest to become the best you can be, you must stay focused on making steady progress, achieving your dreams, even if your progress is inconsistent. The returns on your investment will manifest a better job, better grades, more successful business, stronger family bonds, etc. The trick is to take the next step, to keep swimming, to not be derailed by meaninglessness. As you take these steps and make changes, big or small, you'll know they're right because you'll like yourself better. You'll enjoy what you're doing and where you're going. Positive emotions are rewards for taking right actions, for moving in a right direction.
So much in this message, Ellie, and I think for our audience out there as they're kind of thinking about this, I think there are several things that may come up because I think we need to give them some context first. So, as you mentioned, the this chapter starts. My daughter's a first year student at college this year. When did this actually happen?
This happened, well, she's a senior this year, so it happened 3 years
Oh,
ago.
oh wow. So
And it was right at the end of her freshman year for
mhm,
final exams. That's final exam.
yeah. And so there's so many layers to this, I feel like, but I asked that question because I had mentioned to Allie before we went on here about what was it like for her to look back at this, to reflect back. For yourself reading this today, I mean, her concern was not because she was goofing off, but she has something legitimate, right?
Hmm.
And I think a lot of times that to me is I hope our audience gets that though, Allie, because a lot of times when we're up against something, it's because either we have not been doing what we're supposed to been doing, and then all of a sudden we're trying to get a result that that may or may not happen, or life may have happened to us, as happened with your daughter in this situation.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, what's going to happen? What do you want our audience to take away from that? That a lot that
Yeah.
it really is about how we choose to respond to what happens to us.
Right. Right. So it's 2.5 years ago.
Mhm.
I think that something I have learned in my life is that you have to dig deep sometimes. You have to dig deep and keep going because life happens, things happen. And no matter what you're faced with in life, you have a choice. That choice isn't always easy, and it might be a choice between two not so fabulous things, but you always have a choice. And it's up to you to decide which way you want to go, whether you do or don't. It's always up to you. Um, Sometimes, even when you choose to move forward, like she could have chosen to study and all the rest of it, and because she wasn't feeling well, she still might not have done well. But I would argue she would still do better than if she hadn't studied.
Yeah.
So um, I think what I would want people to take from this is to know that you have more power over your own destiny than you might think. That you do have the ability to change your future, to change your outcomes, and to improve not only your life, but yourself as well.
I love that. And when you were reading it, what I thought about too, in addition to that, Allie, is that if she had not gotten the A, still knowing you've done your best, you know,
Yeah.
you did the best you could, and you did what was in your control to do.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of times we beat ourselves up, about things that are not even in our control, right? But
Absolutely.
and I love that. But you also give us an interesting contrast at that particular moment. And so as a mother then looking at her, what was it like for you to think about at that point the way she was thinking about things and what she chose to do, and how you in that particular phase of Allie Dalsimer, what you would have done in that situation?
Yeah, when we talked beforehand, I said that I don't know that I would have studied if I'd been her. But then as we as I've thought about it in just these few minutes here,
Uh-huh.
I realized, I think back to when I was in school, and I actually, my junior year, I did something really stupid that I have actually talked my daughter out of doing in her junior year, which was I took 21 academic credits plus 3 sports credits, plus I swam competitive swimming, varsity swimming, synchro swimming in college, and really burned the candle at both ends, and ended up with pneumonia during final exams before the Christmas holidays. And you know what? I worked my butt off and I suffered through, and I also got all A's. So I actually had done what she did at that time. Looking back into a couple years ago when I wrote this, and I said, what I do is now just when I don't feel good, I just, literally put a movie on. um, that was definitely where I was, because I wasn't in school, and because there wasn't, I was like, oh, well, it doesn't matter, blah, blah, blah. I don't know that I would do that now, because now I really have things I want to get done. And that's what drove her. She wanted the good grade. She really wanted to do her best.
Right.
And it's what drove me in college, and it's what's driving me now, because now there's something I want to do. And I think what's interesting about this, Cyrus, is that it's demonstrative. It's an example of how we must find our own path and our purpose in life. Because if you have a purpose in life, it's not a drudge, it's not a chore to work towards your goals. You want to do it. It makes you feel good, and there's a positive feedback loop. It's very hard to dig deep to achieve some goal that you don't care about, right? Like, why bother? Somebody X wants me to do Y. Whatever, I don't feel good today. But if it's like, I really want to do this and I need to get it done by XYZ time in order to achieve the goal that I set, well, that reframes the whole thing. So what I think is important about this is finding your own purpose in life and working towards it.
I didn't mention this to you, Allie, before, but I saw an interesting connection to another chapter in your book. And that was, for those who have the print editions, on page 41, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. And you wrote this, and I thought it was an interesting connection to this chapter. You say the choice to complete a task or not is yours and yours alone. And then you go on to say, if you don't complete the task or do a substandard job, well, you're the one who will experience the consequences.
That's right.
And I think that is what I thought was so interesting about thinking about your daughter and what she decided she did. She showed up the best that she could, even in her situation. And I think it's a great reminder for us as well to show up the best we can, because that is in our power to do.
Yeah. And so there's 2 thoughts that come to me on that. One is, I'm hoping people are seeing the journey. There is a journey and a progression. There is an arc to this book. And, we've laid the groundwork early on, and now we're focusing on the implementation of that. And I hope people see that. And the second thing is that as a society, we are way too focused on winning. We're way too focused on the outcome. When both my kids did lots of sports, and I always told them, it doesn't matter if you win or lose. What matters is that you absolutely played your best, that you left everything on the field, that you did all you could to, advance that team, to make the goal, to make the basket, whatever it was, to get the touchdown, hit the home run, whatever it was, you did your best. Winning, that's a bonus. That's the cherry on the sundae, right? Like, winning is like, if you win, that's awesome. Good for you. What matters is doing the work and doing the best you can. And I think too frequently we focus on the outcome and those external rewards instead of our own internal reward system, knowing that we did our best.
So true. I want to say hello over there on IG to KJ. Hello, KJ. Glad you could join us. Hair Creations by, I think it's pronounced Dela. Thank you so much for being with us. Sharon Tail. Hello to Sharon Tail. We have to catch up. It's been a long time. Hope all is well with you. I want to reset real quick, Allie, for our audience, and say, for those who are just tuning in, welcome. You all are watching It's Okay Not to Be Fabulous Every Day by Allie Dalsimer. Of course, you see her there. We're discussing her book. You all can get here on Amazon, both in print, the Kindle edition, or you can be to get also the audiobook as well. You can see too, I see some of you guys have already clicked it over there on the Amazon site. You can also get the Spanish edition as well. We're talking about a message in Allie's book. For those who have the print edition of the book, it's found on page 77. A quote by Seneca: "Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity." The last thing I want to mention, Allie, from this message is this, and I think this is one of the things I am a firm believer in. As you take these steps and make changes, big or small, you'll
Mhm.
know they're right because you'll like yourself better. I'm a person who has always tried to give myself credit for the little things because I understand they help toward the big things. But or even if there's no quote unquote big thing, just knowing I've showed up the best the best that I could, whatever task it is that I'm doing. What do
Mhm.
you want our audience to remember about that? The importance of just giving their best when they show up.
Absolutely. Showing up is half the battle.
Mhm.
And, earlier in the book, we talk about a journey of 1,000 steps, right? 1,000 miles begins with a single step, and how it's important to just take one step, one small step. Doesn't even matter if it's a big step, one step, even if it's making a to do list.
Yeah.
That is a step that you have made. Showing up is a step you have made. And if you do one small thing every single day at the end of the year, you've made 365 small steps. And that is a big deal. That's
Yeah.
a giant leap. And so I think, going back to what I said right at the top of the hour here, um, you, we all have more power within us to control our destinies and achieve our own successes than we give ourselves credit for. We
Yeah.
can't listen to the naysayers. We have to really embody the fact that if we are destined for something, then we are destined for something. Just have to make it happen.
So true. Annalie Gomez, hello to you over there on IG. Sharon Tell says every step matters. That is so true, Sharon Tell. This book is right up your alley, Sharon Tell. You'll love this. You have to get your copy of it. We're going to be tagging you guys over there on IG somehow. We've been having some issues with the actual live over there, but we'll make sure in the stories that you're able to see it as well. Again, everyone, It's Okay Not to Be Fabulous Every Day is the book by Ali Dalsimer. You can get it in print, the Kindle edition, or you can get the audio book. I hope you guys have enjoyed this segment. Allie, let our audience know how can they stay connected with you, how can they sign up for the newsletter, and how they can catch your other show. So what's your process?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, please sign up for my newsletter. You can go to allydalsimer.com/newsletter. It's free. I don't spam you and I don't sell your data. And every other week, I provide author updates and insights. And I also provide tools and resources to help you maximize your potential. I call it 5 minutes of fabulosity. And it's just little things that you can do every day to help you become the you were meant to be. Um, and you can follow me on Instagram. It's the platform I'm most active on, although I'm on all the platforms, just under my name, Allie Dalsimer. And yeah, check out our podcast. So, what's your process? We have a YouTube station. We have 4 episodes out. We got another amazing episode coming up next week with Jim Price, who's a children's author who is really just a really genuinely kind and amazing person. And we also have our Instagram, so you can follow us there. You can look at our clips and whatnot. So yeah, so what's your process? And thank you.
Of course, Allie. Looking forward to next week. I was supposed to be joining from Los Angeles, but I found out yesterday my flight was canceled due to
Oh,
everything that's happened right now. So I'm going to be rescheduling that. Hopefully, in 2 weeks, I'll be in New York, though, if everything goes the way it's supposed to, which I pray that it will. But, Allie, definitely looking forward to joining you next week.
me too. Me too. And thanks everybody for tuning in and look forward to our next conversation.
Exactly. And I thank you all as well for joining us for It's Okay Not to Be Fabulous Every Day. Until next time, you all make it a great one. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.